Hey friends, Charles here, and as you probably guessed from this beautiful background, I'm not in the UK, I am in the beautiful Mediterranean. And why am I here? Well, I'm giving a go the digital nomad life. So one of the major perks of working at Google at the moment is it's fully remote. So you can pretty much work wherever you want to work, as long as you get the job done, and as long as it's in a reasonable time zone so you're not awake at like 3 AM at night. Hence, as long as I've got my work laptop, a decent Wi-Fi connection that allows me to do video calls, I can pretty much work wherever I want to. So in this video, I'm going to talk to you all about my lifestyle as a digital nomad, what I'm planning to do and where I'm planning to go. We're going to go through some advantages, some disadvantages, and a little roundup at the end of what I think being a digital nomad is going to be like. So if you're looking to give the digital nomad life a go, stick around, hit the subscribe button, and let's get into the video. Intro music. So I've decided to give the digital nomad life a go. First in Malta, then Lisbon, then who knows. But what exactly is a digital nomad? So a digital nomad is effectively someone who can work anytime, anywhere, as long as they've got an internet connection and a laptop with them. Or, in my case, an iPad. And whilst in this COVID, post-lockdown remote world, being a digital nomad doesn't seem like a kind of crazy or weird idea, even just a few years ago, it was a pretty fringe group. But what's mad is in 1997, a book was written called Digital Nomad, which basically explored this phenomenon, which is 24 years ago, when the internet was barely getting going.
On your mark, get set. We're riding on the internet.
So according to TechMonitor, the number of people who identify as a digital nomad is 10.9 million, and there is 19 million who want to adopt the lifestyle in the next few years.
All right, I'm in. You son of a gun. I'm in too.
So I decided to try out this digital nomad life for two reasons, really. One, a good friend of mine, Mike, has a YouTube channel and he's documenting his slow moving around Europe and slow traveling around the world life. And also I finally got started with the 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss, which kind of gave me a little bit of inspiration of, okay, maybe these mini retirements that he mentions in the book sound pretty good. Maybe I could do some of those, but maybe work a little bit while I'm there and maybe take some time off and explore and do some experiences too. And the whole thing that really stuck with me from the 4-Hour Work Week is that he takes these 1 to 6 month mini retirements throughout his life. And basically in that time, you're meant to really scale down the work that you're doing and focus more on the life aspect as opposed to the work balance kind of piece. So that's kind of what I'm doing. I don't know if I've done enough of reducing the work balance, but I've definitely taken some holidays and done a lot while I've been away. Some countries like Bali, Antigua, Barbados, they've actually recognized that, hell, this is a pretty big trend that's growing, particularly for some of those nations where, the weather's a little bit warmer. They know that people want to be attracted to those places when, for example, in the UK, it's already freezing cold at the moment and it's really kind of miserable. And so they offer these special digital nomad visas. And the main benefit of those is if you're kind of traveling around and you're also trying to work and also kind of visit a place, you may not necessarily fall into a tourist visa, you may not necessarily fall into a residence visa. So where do you fit? Well, they have these digital nomad visas, and as long as you've got health insurance and enough income and maybe a few other different requirements, then you should be able to get one of these specific visas. It doesn't matter so much if you're traveling in Europe, if you've got an EU passport. For me, I'm now limited to only traveling for 3 months.
I'm leaving you! I've put your stuff in boxes on the table!
But unless I get a special visa in some of the countries that I want to travel to. But for the other countries outside of the EU, digital nomad visas are the way to go and something I would 100% recommend looking into if you're planning to do that. But if you're planning to travel outside the European Union, you don't have the EU passport, and you're looking at countries like Canada or Bali or something like that, look and see if they have a digital nomad visa. Some will, some won't. But if the ones that do, particularly Bali and Barbados and Antigua, potentially they are your preferred options. And the weather's going to be pretty nice in the Caribbean most of the year. So I had a look at some of the top 20 destinations for digital nomads to visit. Hilariously, none of the places that I'm planning to go are on this list, but apparently this list right here has the top 20 list of the best digital nomad places to go if you're looking to kind of live or work a digital nomad life. And these are the factors that they took into account when they were creating that top 20 list. So things like costs of living, things like internet speeds, things like, how fun it is to actually be in that place. So definitely have a look at that top 20 list and see if there's any destinations that stand out to you. I definitely think it's made me review maybe some of the places that I go to that are more digital nomad friendly than the places that I'm currently going to. But crucially, as a digital nomad, the key thing here is this is not just like a all-inclusive holiday, right? So you still need to be earning more than you're spending. Like that's super, super key. And also when you initially get there, you're not necessarily going to know the area very well. You might not necessarily know the language. So there's a few different things to watch out for and a few different things to look at when you're figuring out what kind of place you want to travel to as a digital nomad. So apparently Phuket in Thailand is one of the, if not the best places to go if you're planning to be a digital nomad, particularly if you're going for like a few months at a time. And because the island has the low living cost of only about £800 per month, you can enjoy all of the hundreds of different like adventures and experiences that Thailand has to offer. And even better, if you want to visit one of the neighboring countries like Malaysia, Taiwan or whatever, then you can easily get a pretty cheap flight from one place to another. And most of those places that are pretty nearby to Thailand, they're also part of the top places to go as a digital nomad too. So it's pretty handy. They're all kind of centraled in one rough location. And the activities in Thailand, well, they're pretty plenty too. So you can do like swimming, trekking, kayaking, snorkeling, anything kind of involving the sea or the beach. Well, they'll be in big supply in Thailand. The only thing to consider potentially if you're living in Europe is just the time difference between Europe and Thailand, and probably even worse if you're actually in the US or Canada. So you just have to consider that as a key factor there. Okay, let's look at why I think being a digital nomad is so great. So first of all, I think one of the key benefits is just comfort. Like I'm not having to do a commute for like an hour and a half or 2 hours a day. I'm in a place where there's like pretty beautiful weather. I definitely think there's just like a benefit around being in a country that is a far nicer weather at this time of year, and also the benefit of like not having to do an hour and a half, 2 hour commute every day. Like that makes a hell of a difference, just those two factors combined for me at least. And secondly, while it may seem like a massive money sink to basically be on holiday for a lot of the time, even though you're not really on holiday, and you're kind of like traveling or working from a different location, actually roughly about half of the people that do give this lifestyle a go, they actually are earning the same, if not more, than they were in an office job. So basically, if you can find a really good remote role in tech or otherwise that allows you to work from a different location, chances are you have a reasonably good chance of earning at least the same, if not more, by working remotely and having all the benefits that the lifestyle brings to. And like, let's face it, it's definitely down to the type of jobs that you can do remotely. Like if you're working in a factory and you're doing some kind of like skilled labor, but like in some kind of production or in some kind of manufacturing facility, fundamentally, you're not necessarily going to be able to try that remote lifestyle. However, if you're not within that and you're in sort of more of a highly skilled, managerial, maybe more like technology focused company, then actually working remote is going to definitely be an option to give a go. And almost 40% of Americans who do try the digital nomad lifestyle, they're earning at least $75,000 or more, plus they're living more comfortably, plus their cost of living versus being in the US is going to be like quite significantly lower. I think for me, and Tim Ferriss highlights this too, the digital nomads report only about 30% of them work more than 40 hours per week. You get to work fewer hours, travel more, see some amazing places, have that good work-life balance, and also just have lower living costs. What could possibly be the downsides?
Nothing can possibly go wrong.
Let's move on to some challenges. And I think the first thing that we need to acknowledge here is that you have to be working for a company, or you have to have the setup in your life where this makes sense. Like, I'm speaking from someone who has the privilege to be able to actually do this for a few months and actually be able to give it a go. If you're working for a job that requires you physically in person, maybe you have like some kind of like family commitments or something like that, or you have something that ties you to a certain country, meaning that you can't have the passport to be able to do this, then look, I recognize that that is a circumstance with which you're not going to be able to do this. For those of us that are lucky enough to do it, it does present a viable option. However, there is also some other challenges too, even if it's viable for someone like myself. And the two most important ones of these are probably just making sure that one, you've got a correct visa that allows you to actually stay and work from that location. And then the second thing is actually just making sure that you have the required worldwide health insurance, particularly in COVID. And so if you go to a place that doesn't have a good healthcare system, you just want to be able to make sure that you have the private worldwide medical insurance in place, so that if you get stuck on an island that doesn't have a good medical kind of care, you could get flown off somewhere else to be able to be treated for COVID or for something that could be like potentially much worse, like if you break a leg or something like that. And sometimes you also have to realize that not everyone understands the digital nomad lifestyle. Like right now, I'm not on holiday. Like I'm working in a different location and enjoying why I'm being here, doing experiences, and enjoying the weekend and time between doing work and just working more efficiently if I can. So it's one of those things where it's like, look, I'm not necessarily working less. If I can work less and reduce some other commitments, I will do so, just to have more time and be able to see the places that I'm visiting more. But fundamentally, like, I'm still working, and that may be something that may be hard to justify to family or an employer or like other circumstances that you may have. A couple of other things too, like one of the main reasons why I'm traveling around Europe as opposed to traveling around Asia or traveling around America is that actually the time zone difference between those countries and the UK would be like 5 to 7 hours. Like where I've been traveling to around Europe so far, or where I'm planning to, is only going to be like plus or minus like 1 or 2 hours from the UK, where Google is like mostly based, where my role is but mostly based. So there's that. There's also like finding a reliable and stable internet infrastructure, which has like decent enough speeds for being able to do like video calls and stuff like that. So well and good just having the internet and free Wi-Fi, but actually being able to communicate on Zoom or Google Meet is actually really, really important. I think another issue is also just like potential blurred lines between like work and leisure time, and of work spilling into leisure, leisure spilling into work can be a little bit difficult to maintain. I think if you keep a structure and you get your work done and to a high level, it doesn't really matter. Some people may find that challenging. And I think the last thing, and I think something that I'm definitely reflecting on already, even though I'm fairly early into this kind of challenge, is that I definitely feel like if you were in the middle of nowhere, not knowing anyone, not really knowing the town or city that you're in, you can definitely build up a level of like loneliness or a level of like just not being able to know people. And if you're not an extroverted person, that's definitely going to be something that's a bit challenging. For me, like, I think that would be challenging for me, just being in a completely new place and just starting to meet people, even though I'm a little more extroverted. However, one of the key things that I've done is that in the places that I'm planning to go to and that I've been to already, people have been either coming from the UK or I've been meeting up with people that I know already in those locations. So like that has made a big difference, ensuring that I'm kind of like not lonely, and I've also like rented a space in a co-working space. And so I just think like being able to have that element sorted is probably the biggest challenge that I would say of trying to be a digital nomad independently. I think if I was doing it independently, I wouldn't be enjoying it as much as I am now, because I know people in the locations that I'm going to. So why am I giving this a try? I'm giving this a try because I have the flexibility and the actual ability to be able to do so. Working for Google is remote at the moment. It's allowing me to do that. Post January, February time, it's going to be a little bit more tricky. So I'm making the most of it while I can now. And I think just my early reflection on this is that if you are someone who's thinking, you know what, this commute, this 9 to 5, this office job, I'm not necessarily enjoying, and you have the ability to be able to give it a try, I would say give it a go. I think it's definitely something that is rewarding to stay in a place for more than 2, 3, 4 weeks. These are just my early impressions. This is what I'm thinking now. And yeah, I'm just kind of in this place where I don't necessarily know if I want to go home. Or I'm like, could I just extend another week or another 2 weeks or something like that? So yeah, it's super enjoyable and I would recommend it to you. If you like this video, there is so much more content to come. So if you're not already, subscribe, because let me tell you, the amount of content that I've filmed while being a digital nomad is a lot. And so we're going to cover all the different aspects. There's some vlogs thrown in there too. There's some apartment tours. So sub if you're not already. Otherwise, check out this playlist here, which I will store all of the digital nomad content within, and it will build up as we go along. So thanks so much for watching. Have an awesome rest of your day.